is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. I have got a fun one today. I am just throwing Van Halen at you guys like every week now. I'm kind of on a Van Halen kick, so I'm rolling with it. Maybe somebody should get me a doctor. I actually didn't prepare that joke, but it worked in the moment. So we're gonna do Somebody Get Me a Doctor by Van Halen off Van Halen II. This one's fun. It's got really great riff, quick little solo in it. It's got some really cool stuff in it. So we're gonna go through it note for note and just have a lot of fun with it. Before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And very important, please just check out my Guitar Academy. You'll see the link in the description below. It's real easy to check it out. And if you click the link below, you get a 7-day free trial. Check it out. My Guitar Academy contains all my guitar courses covering everything from complete beginner courses to more advanced courses in technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone, many different styles like rock, blues, metal, jazz. So please go over there and check it out. All right, so let's jump into this. I am tuned down a half step as per Eddie's regulations. So just E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, E flat. I'll put those notes in the description too. Now we have the intro here. So this intro sounds like this. All right, so it's kind of like a G chord, like a G power chord kind of a thing. So a C chord, and then a D chord, really a D power chord. You can put the F sharp in there if you want, but important, put that A, the A string in the bass, so make it a second inversion D chord. So and then go through those chords again. And then end it with an E5 power chord. So it's just up here at the 7th fret here. 7 on the A, 9 on the D and the G, while I'm playing the open E. And that takes us into the main riff, which is also the chorus of the song, so it's like this. So that's a fun one to play. So we're going to start with this 3-0 on the A string, and you can kind of just slightly bend the 3. Gives it kind of a little bit of an inflection. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the 3rd fret and hit it twice muted on that A string. Then back to the open A. So I have this. All right, and then the open D and the G strings to the 2nd fret on the D and the G. So I have this. Then what you're going to do is you're going to slide up to the 7th fret there on the A string. Then play the double stop here at the 5th fret across the D and the G. Then the open A. It's kind of muted, that open A. And then you jump here to the end of the chord, which is going to be the 7th fret there on the D and the G, and then the 8th fret there on the B. And then resolve that to just the 7th fret across those 3 strings. So that. So slide to 7, that double stop at the 5th fret, open A string, and then those last 2 chords. So. You notice I'm kind of sliding down the low E just to try to get back to the beginning of the riff. So that one's a lot of fun to play. All right, so now we have verse, I'm gonna call this verse number 1, because you have 2 different ways they play this verse riff. All right, so the first way you're gonna hear is, so when David Lee Roth's vocals come in, it sounds like this. Back to that main riff, which is the chorus there. So what I'm doing here is, now this is a little bit tricky to get like the album, because I feel like Eddie is doing that kind of thing where he's playing, either intentionally or not, he's playing the 7th fret harmonic on the low E string in between these chords. But he's playing it lightly enough that you can also hear the open E string in there. So it's that kind of deal. So you can hear that harmonic, but you can also hear the low E string ringing in there. So it's kind of one of those half-played harmonics. So he's doing that. He's going to first start with just an E major chord. So you play this 7th fret on the A string, and then the 9th fret on the D, G, and the B. So do all 6 those, the low E in there with those 4 strings in the middle. Down, up, down. And then he starts tugging on that low E string, and that's where he's kind of, so it's almost like you, to really do it right, you can touch the bottom of the low E string to get that harmonic. You're not like hovering over to get the whole harmonic, just kind of touch the bottom of the string there. And you get that open E string along with the harmonic at the same time, so they kind of split in the difference there. So it sounds really cool. It sounds a lot closer to the album if you can pull that off. So it's just, I do it with a very light touch at the bottom of the string. I'm touching the bottom of the string, not hovering over it and covering the whole thing, which would give me just the full harmonics. And then what I'm going to do here, this next chord, I'm going to go up, to keep the 7th fret here. I'm going to go up to the 10th fret there across the D, G, and the B. All right, so that's kind of it. So we have that done twice. So that's verse number 1. A little bit less stretchy than the other version of the verse. So from there, we go back to that main riff a couple times. And then back to that same verse, so verse riff number 1. And then back to the main riff there 3 times. All right, so after we've played that riff again, so that's the chorus there, we go back to play the verse, really the 3rd time. Now this is where we have what I call verse riff number 2. So version number 2 of the verse. Similar, but different. So. All right, so actually I think right there it actually goes to the bridge, not that main riff. So we have same thing as before, but now instead of doing 9 and 10 again, we're gonna keep going up and play 11. So this is where it gets kind of stretchy. You're gonna have to keep that 7 going. You can still hear that 7 in the chord, that E, and the harmonic. So you're gonna have to grab this 11 with your pinky across the D, G, and the B. And then all the way up to 12. So we have this. And then that gets us to the bridge. Now the bridge is a little bit tricky, especially on this guitar, because the volume knob's a little bit far away from my strings. If this was on my Strat, this is a pretty easy riff. On this guitar, not as easy, but I'm going to play through it really quick for you. So this bridge is going to require me to kind of cut the volume of the strings real quick, so turn the volume knob all the way down and then roll it back up. So it sounds like this. that leads to the solo. So what this riff is doing is we have the open A string twice. And then what we're going to pick is those double stops again at the 5th fret across the D and the G. And then back to the 7th fret there on the D. And there's a couple of muted hits in there. So just mute the strings. And then we have this. That's going to be the double stop across the 7th fret of the G and the B string. And then the same thing at the 5th fret there. And then back to the 7th fret there on the D. Then you hit the open A string again twice. That's when you're going to roll down your volume knob to 0 and pick those 5s again. And then swell them in, just slowly bring it up, well, pretty quick. So we have this all together slowly. So you see that, so I turned it down, went and hit the chord, and then rolled that volume knob back in. Repeat. So you basically do that 3 times, and the 4th time you're just going to hit the A string once. Then it has a little half a teacher thing, kind of the same thing leading, got the same lick in half a teacher. But we hit the open A string, and then a bend at the 7th fret there on the G. Release the bend, pull off to 5, and then go back up. We're going to start tremolo picking. 7 on the G string, 7, 9, 12, 14, and then bend it up a step and a half. So 3 half steps. So it will sound like that note. And some vibrato on it. All right. So that's it for the pre-chorus. I'll call it the bridge. Let's call it a bridge. All right, now let's do the solo. So the solo got obviously some tricky stuff in it, but I'm going to go through it for you note for note. So let me play it for you real quick, though, and then we'll jump right into it. All right, so now this is kind of some typical Eddie licks in there. If you've played some of his solos before, you're probably going to see some licks in here that you might recognize a little bit. So we're going to start here in the 7th position. So that's the first lick in the solo. So what he does is he does a bend at the 10th fret on the B string, over to the 7th fret on the high E string, pull off 10 to 7 on the beat. So we have this. Then back to a bend at the 10th fret on the B. And then what we're going to do is we're going to roll from the 7th fret on the high E down to the B. And then you play that 10th fret again. And then with a bend. So we have this. Sorry. All right, now this next lick's probably the trickiest part of the solo. It goes by pretty quick. It sounds like this. So the timing on this one's interesting. So we're going to first start with the 7th fret on the B string. You're going to pick that, pull off to 6, and pull off to 5. And then you're going to kind of do the same lick again, but now picking 6, pull off to 5, pull off to 3. So we have this. And then at the very end, he does a quick little. So what he's doing is when he picks that, when he gets to the 3, he speeds it up a little. He slides down to 2, pull off to the open B string, back to 2, over to 2 on the G, and then the 4th fret on the D string, and bend that up a step and a half. So we have this. One more time. So you see the ending, you have to speed it up. So all the notes aren't the same speed. All right, so it's really cool, like this, just typical Eddie stuff where he'll just kind of throw this stuff at it. He's like really good at this, literally throwing so many musical ideas at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, yet it doesn't sound like a shreddy solo. It's like somebody who doesn't play guitar still likes the sound of it. So it's like, all right, so that's a little tricky, but the timing is the important thing here. And then now we run into another common Eddie lick that he'll use in some solos. So that right there is a bend at the 10th fret, right? So now we have. You can kind of palm mute that to make the notes come out. So after that bend, what he's doing, and this is a lick he's used in a few of his solos, we're going to pull off, pick 10 on the B, pull off to the 7th fret, then pull off to the open B string. Then come over to the 10th fret there on the on the G string, and then go over and hit the open high E. So it's a 5-note lick. So that right there, I like to grab that top note with my middle finger. You can pick it like this though. And he ends it with that lick right there, that bend at the 10th fret on the high E there. Then the 7th fret on the high E, down to the 7th fret on the B, a bend and release at the 9th on the G, down to the 7th on the G. All right, now the solo kind of shifts gears a little bit. It sounds like this. So that's going to start with the 10th fret on the, you can borrow the 10th fret on the high E and the B string there. So you're going to pick, so you have those 2 notes there. Now add the 11th fret here on the B string. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick the B and the high E together. So it's going to be 11th on the B and the 10th on the high E at first. You pick that, then pull off to the 10th fret there on the B. Then 12, 10, 12 on the G. And then some kind of wide vibrato there on the 12th fret. From there, it slides into the 16th fret there on the G, and then play 15 on the B, roll over to 15 on the high E, then play 18 on the B into a bend. All right, and now we had this last kind of repeated melodic figure. It's really cool. So that's kind of the first way of doing it. So we have this. So that's going to be pulling off. This is just. You don't have to. You can play it, finger it like that as well, just all with the index and a ring finger if you want. So that's just pulling off from 10 to 12, I'm sorry, 10 to 8 on the B string. Over to 10 on the G to 8 on the high E. Then repeat that. Play this. And then this, before we move to a different position, we're going to pull off that 10 to 8 again, but now go 10 on the G, 8 on the B. So we have this. See that slight palm muting that I'm doing there on the G string? So I'm really making it sound a little punchy. Then take that up here to the 10th fret. So it's kind of more just you do the lick twice there. So just up 2 frets. And then that last one, just pull off 10 to that 12 to 10 there. And then when you get to that 12 on the G, you gotta slide down to get ready. So from there, just kind of the same lick. Done once here at the first fret. And then up to the 3rd fret. Then pull off to the 5 to 3 on the B. Over that 5 on the G. And you can slide up and go into some harmonics. So those harmonics, so he slides up the G string, right? And then we're going to play the harmonic here at the open, the 12th fret on the G. And then the B. And then the open high E string. Then a jump over to the 5th fret there on the D string harmonic. 4th fret on the G. So we have this. And you're going to end it out here with the 4th fret on the D. And then the harmonic across the G string, B string, and high E string on the 5th fret. So we have this. And then back to the. And then to kind of take it up to the. So that 1st fret, the 3rd fret, and then up to the 5th fret. And when you get to here, pulling off to 7 to 5 and that 7 on the G, take it to an E power chord to end it. All right, now after the solo, we go back into that main riff. We play it really 4 times to start. It was really going to be 6 times total. But during the 4th time, we had this little harmonic legato lick. So it sounds like this. Kind of goes back into riff. So you play the riff 3 times normal. And then right here, you do that 3-0 and then go into the harmonics. Now, it doesn't really matter too much where you're at. It's kind of a random effect, but you can start here right at the 2nd fret. So that sounds pretty good right there. So what you're doing basically is you're taking this little legato lick here. And so it's basically 2 on the G, hammer on the 4, pull back off the 2, and pull off to the open string. And just kind of get that going like repeated lick. Now, to get these harmonics, what you do is as you're doing that, you then very lightly, I take the edge of my pinky and just take it down the strings, very lightly touching strings. And what happens, you get across these little harmonic node points. And it sounds like at the very end he starts working his way, kind of to do the same lick, just take it across the strings. So don't really worry about it. It's not a precise technique. It's just for an effect. And just kind of find the sweet spot or remains kind of over the neck pickup there. All right, so that's kind of how you do the effect. It's just you get this kind of consistent legato lick going in the left hand, and then you just lightly take. If you have a lot of gain, it really helps. Just kind of really lightly taking the edge of a finger or something just down the strings, and it just kind of goes over all those little harmonic node points, and all those harmonics start popping out. It's a pretty cool effect. All right, then after that, there's the main riff again a couple times. And then we're back to the verse again. Now they go back to the verse version number 1. All right, and then we're back to the main riff, played again kind of 4 times. And then the 4th time, we have this ending. All right, so that is going to be the same riff to begin with. Then the open A real quick. You're going to hit the C power chord, just the 3rd fret on the A, 5th fret on the D. And then what you're going to do, hit the open A again, and now grab the version of that power chord that's got the 5th in the bass. So you're going to, the 3rd fret across the A and the low E. And then also have the 5th fret on the D and the G again. And then you're going to take that to the version that we did earlier, which is that D power chord with the 5th in the bass. So it's basically open A, open D, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B. Gives it kind of a lot bigger sound. And then just in the track there, just 3-0 real quick on the A. All right, so it is a really fun track to play. It's got some really cool stuff from some typical early 80s Eddie licks, and it's really cool. Early kind of Van Halen, Eddie's stuff is just always really fun to play. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.